Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's Larry O'Toole back to you again with what will be our third video in the series. This one is focused on poetry and focused on Colscara. I'd just like to say hello to all the students who have watched the last video. The amount of views it got was incredible and very uplifting and very inspiring, so hence I've been inspired to do a second poetry video on one of the other poems. Big shout out to all the students in my own school, you know who you are, and a lot of you have contacted me for notes, so that's very uplifting again and inspiring to see so many emails coming in from students from my school looking for the notes, and from other schools in the Wexford area, which has been very uplifting, so well done to all. I do hope you're all self-isolating still and staying at home as requested, not by mums, not by dads, not by teachers, but by the scientists, because of what's going on at the moment. And you know, I hope you're all staying in and doing what's been asked of us, and a chance for yourselves to get some study done as well, hopefully, you know, at this time. Okay, so let's begin and have a look at this one. Okay, this one is Colscara I'm going to do today, and it's the second poem on my list, and it's by Padraig McSivna. And the title of the poem is, so we'll do a quick talk about the poem just for 30 seconds, maybe a few minutes, and we'll just have a quick run through it and what the poem is about. So the poem runs like this: Colscara le Padraig McSivna. Now Colscara means separation or divorce. Now I always feel that this poem, you could scrape the frost off it, it's so cold, just like the marriage, and it's a poem about two people who got married for possibly many wrong reasons. And the last line of the poem is Scorridor. They split. Surprise, surprise. Let's have a look at the marriage and the poem about the two parties. And it's split into two verses. And the first verse runs like this: Huntig Sheban. So this verse is all about the man's needs, or the man's mienta. Mienta would be the Irish for needs. Now, you do realise when you're watching this video, pause me right now. Email me at lawrenceotoole@wwetb.ie. That's LAURENCE, Lawrence O'Toole, OTOOLE, at wwetb.ie. That's the Waterford and Wexford Education Training Board, wwetb.ie. Okay. So it's Lawrence O'Toole at wwetb, and I might ask the Wexford Local Development, when they are putting this video up online, that they maybe include that link. So you do need to email me and ask me for the notes on Colscara specifically. And then I'll send you the notes pack to go with this discussion, and you follow the notes as we go through. And I have a copy of the notes here myself, which I'll reference a lot. So here we go. So Huntig Sheban, Ban. He desired a woman in nada kinna, in the nest or in his home, fuis of his gan, love and affection, lacka hinna, by the heart of the fire. Artis is ground a togal kinna, Artin is gan, a ground a togal kinna, and he wanted, you know, fun and games and humour. A dogal kinna, rearing a family. Okay, let's look at the woman's needs now in this marriage in the second verse. Huntig she far, she wanted a man. Tave den vrishta, half the pants. Deeden the shark, she wanted refuge and shelter. Is Latin kishta, and half the pie. Quiche is a pie, isn't it? So half the pie. Sira harlar, she wanted holidays abroad. Is mas na milta, and the respect of thousands, of everybody really. Hongus eretoch, they reached a resolution. Scorridor, they split. Now, let me give you my take on this poem, and, you know, my understanding of this poem and how it's structured and how it's put together, and see what you think, and then we'll take a run at the notes and in an essay style, so that there's a narrative and there's a flow to them for you to follow. Okay, my take on this is the first verse. Certainly, if you look at the first line, Huntig Sheban, he wanted a woman. Look, he wanted a woman. Look at the first line of the second verse. Huntig she far, she wanted a man. Personally, it's so impersonal, you can scrape the frost off it, it's so cold. If he had said Huntig she Fiona, and if it had said Huntig she Sean, she wanted Sean and he wanted Fiona, it would be it would be personal. But it's the fact that it starts with he wanted a woman and she wanted a man. It's so nav-farsant, it's so impersonal. So the first thing I would notice that ní luachtar anam, there's no name mentioned in the poem. She just wanted a man, he wanted a woman, they wanted to be married. They never wanted each other, they just wanted to be married. So I would specifically say we'll keep an eye on that in the notes. The second thing, he wanted a man, he wanted a woman in that kind of feast of Viscan or lack, and sitting by the fire, love and affection, rearing a family, by the heart of the fire in his home. I would argue in this poem that all the man's mianta, which are his needs, M-I-A-N-T-A, mianta, on there, the needs of the man, all of his needs are díreacha, focused, or in balya, on the home. Tá mianta tradiisiúnta again, he has traditional needs. Tá íomhá tradiisiúnta again den pósa, he has a traditional image of the marriage. Would you agree? I think so. His image of marriage is sitting by the fire having cuddles. Let's look now at the woman's mianta nominal. Now, can we just talk about this word mianta nominal for a sec? Far is a man, but it's mianta anir. The needs of the man. It's the tishel ginnedoch, the genitive case. Just be careful of that. Ban is a woman, but the needs of the woman are mianta nominal. Okay, it's the tishel ginnedoch. Just be careful of that one. Let's have a look at her needs now. So we agree now that his needs are tradiisiúnta, they're traditional, they're díreacha ergan balya, they're focused on the home. And he has an íomhá tradiisiúnta den pósa. He has this traditional view of marriage, yeah? Okay, let's look at mianta nominal now in the second verse, the needs of the woman. Hantig she far, she wanted a man, cold, four, ice. She wanted taved and vrishta, half the pants. And she wanted Latin kishta, half the pie. Now, how can you be married and want half the pants and half the pie? She wants a certain navsplachus is the word we're looking for, and we'll use that in our notes as well. Actually, put that in. Navsplachus. Navsplachus means independence. Now, the word navsplachus, she wanted to be posta, married, och navsplach, but independent. That is possible, I suppose, but in this case, with a man who wanted a traditional marriage where everyone's huggy and fuzzy and cuddly and fluffy sitting around the fire, and the lady wants half the pants, half the pie, she wants sira harlar, holidays abroad, is masna milta, and the respect of everyone. They reached a resolution. Scoridor. Boom. Look how fast this poem ends. Watch this. He wanted a woman, he wanted her in the nest of his home, he wanted love and affection sitting by the fire, huggy and rear a family. She wanted a man, she wanted half the pants, half the pie, the respect of everyone's. They reached a resolution. Bang! Scoridor. Boom. It's over. The poem finishes as quick the poem finishes as quick as the marriage. The poem is running along, you know. He wanted this, she wanted that, he wanted this. Boom, scoridor, they're split. So I would argue in my notes again that this poem has a creoch tubban, a sudden ending. It ends with a prabara. It ends with a you know. It ends with a stud, a stop. Just like the marriage. So the poem has a creoch tubban, a sudden end. Kosulish and posa, just like the marriage had a sudden end. Okay, is there anything else I can say about this one? Yes, I can say that this entire poem is built on, here's one of our words from video 2, Kuddersnacht. Kuddersnacht, it's one of the words you were asked to write down in video number 2. So if you're struggling with any of the lingo when I get to these notes, go back and watch video 2 and you'll be fine. Okay, so the second thing I'll say about this one is posa, Kuddersnacht. There's a Kuddersnacht glan. There's a clear contrast either between mianta nominal, the needs of the woman, agus mianta an ir, and the needs of the man. What you'll find is the Kuddersnacht is he has an íomhá tradiisiúnta den pósa, a traditional image of marriage, but she has an íomhá nua aimsire den pósa. She has a modern image of marriage. Okay, now I suppose one of the first things that we should look at here now is the kaint mafruk in the poem. These will all make a little paragraph in the notes that I will give you with this. So let's talk about kaint mafruk, metaphorical speech. It's raining cats and dogs. As I said before, there's no Labradors and Dalmatians bouncing off the ground outside, falling out of the sky, poodles and pugs. It's metaphorical speech, really. It's not literal. And in this case, when she says she wants Latin vrishta, half the pants, it's maffer atá gist. It's a metaphor. Maffer for what? For nav splachus, for independence. She wants Latin kishta, half the pie. Again, she wants her share of half. Again, it's a metaphor for nav splachus. The man in his case, he wanted fun and games in the family, or lakahina, by the fireside. Again, it's kind vafrok, it's metaphorical speech for his iavad and posa, his image of the marriage. Now, you could argue that there's a colorsnocht glan, there's a clear contrast either between an iavad then posa, the image of marriage, mionamana, the outlook, mion, there's a nice word, M-E-O-N. The mionamana, the outlook of the woman, agus mion an ir, and the outlook of the man. One has an iavad traditionte den posa, one has a traditional image of marriage, and the lady, the band, the woman has an iavad nu aimshara den posa. A modern, nu aimshara, iavad nu aimshara, a modern image den posa of marriage. Okay, last point I would say about this one before we tackle the notes would possibly be that certainly Ted London. We look at two more things actually. Ted London, and I've told you in my last essay, try to comment on Ted London in your discussions, the title of the poem, because quite often the title of the poem is the very first thing we read, and it tells us, whether something is going to be uplifting, sad, or difficult, or a happy theme. In this case, the title of the poem is Kolskara, separation. Divorced, in this case. I suppose what you would argue there is that the title is, and we came across this word the last time, Irunach. O-I-R-I-U for the N-A-C-H. It will be in the notes. As I said, download the notes now. Pause me right now and download the notes send me the email, Lawrence O'Toole, LAURENCEOTOOLE at wwetb.ie. I'll put a link with the video so you can contact me. Just say, have you the notes for Kolskar, and I'll have them for you immediately. One of the words that will come up in that, okay, is colorsnocht, contrast, iavad traditionte den posa, traditional image, and this word will come back to irunach, suitable. Is Ted London sho irunach? Is the title of this poem suitable? Divorce, separation. Irunacht, if you spell it O-I-R-I-U for the N-A-C-H-T, Irunacht an Tedel. The suitability of the title, let's put that in a sentence. Ta Irunacht an Tedel Riholer Sadan Shaw. The suitability or the appropriateness of the title is Glanceler or Riholer. Glanceler, clearly evident. Riholer, blatantly obvious. Sadan Shaw. Does that title strengthen the theme of separation, of divorce? I think so. So one could argue that the Tedel on Dawn is a runach, and that Nartien on Tedel Shaw, this title strengthens Kolskara, separation, Maraver Sadan, as a subject in the poem. We used three words in our last video a lot. We used Bamian, which is to emphasize. We used Nartien, which is to strengthen. And we also used Nartien, Musklean, M-U-S-C-L-A-I for the O-N-N, excuse me. Musklean means to awaken. Musklean on Philip, the poet awakens. Broan, so dawn. Okay. Seeing as we've mentioned Broan, let's talk about the emotions in this poem. What are the emotions? I've always said you could scrape the frost off this poem when you read it. It's almost like on a layer of, it's so cold. It's two people who wanted to be married just for the sake of being married, and maybe they missed the whole idea of marriage is about love, it's about unity, and it's about two people being one in a marriage. You know, it reminds me of that U2 song, One, actually, if you ever get a chance to listen to it. It's the most potent expression about love, the whole one thing. One love, one life with each other, brothers, sisters, lovers, all of us. There's no one in this. They wanted to be married, but they didn't want to be together. So there is no concept of one. So the emotions in it, I think you'd all agree. Broan, yes, definitely. It is a sad poem. Uigness, loneliness, definitely. Colscara, separation. Yes, it is a feeling. I feel separated from a person. We were disconnected. So yeah, and finally, I would say gra. Now this is a question we've discussed in class with my own students over the years, and it's something I've always thrown out there for a small 10-minute discussion. Like, is there gra in this poem? Love in the poem? It's amazing the response. It's either students who say, yep, there's love in it, or students who say, no, there's no love in it. I suppose if you look at his image of marriage, sitting by the fire, having love and affection, and humour and affection and attraction, I suppose they're all words we might associate with love in certain ways, certain types of love. So I wouldn't say gra, but maybe I'd say gra doite, spent love, unrequited love maybe. Well, it's not quite unrequited because they were never in. It depends. Do you think the two people in the poem Colscara were ever in love? They were in love with the idea of being married. Were they in love with each other? I'm not going to call you. You decide. I'm not going to put my head in the block here. Okay, you decide. Were these people ever in love with each other? It's hard to know. They were certainly in love with the idea of being married. Okay, it's now at this point that I'm going to move on to a set of notes on this one. And as always, I'm going to give you two sets of notes. I'm going to give you one set of notes on this question. Cod is tema an dawn seo. Agus conas a curran an fila an tema sin os ar gore. What is the theme of this poem? Agus conas, and how a curran an fila does the poet put an tema sin os ar gore? That theme before us. Okay. The second question I'm going to give you is Cadiad na mahuchan sa dawn seo. What are the feelings in this poem? Agus conas a curran an fila na mahuchan sin os ar gore. And how does the poet put those feelings os ar gore before us? You got it. Okay, let's have a look at this and let's see how we get on. So the first set of notes, and when you download the notes or print them off, the first question you'll have is Cod is tema an dawn, what's the theme of this poem? Agus conas a curran an fila an tema sin os ar gore. And how does the poet put that theme across? You could even have a copy of the poem open in front of you for the rest of this discussion now, and pause me right now and get your book and have the poem open in front of you with the notes. You won't fail to do well. Okay. Let's have a look at the opening statement. So, the first question is, what is the theme of the poem and how does the poet get that theme across? The first bit is, what's the theme of the poem? That's easy to answer. Here we go. Look at your notes. An posa agus mienta de frula an dinna is tema an dawn seo. Marriage. And the different needs on dinna of a person is tema an dawn seo, is the theme of this poem. Tríd an dawn throughout the poem. Be mian an fille an chorisnocht idir na mienta. Throughout the poem, there's one of our buzzwords. I call them buzzwords, keywords, if you want to be more, pedagogical about it. Keyword, buzzwords. Be mian an fille. Throughout the poem, the poet emphasizes an chorisnocht, the contrast. Idir mianta an dinna, between the needs of a person. Ní ravein réitoch ar na mianta. There was no resolution to the needs. There was no resolution between the different needs a via that they had agus marsin, and therefore scorridor, they split. Have we answered in that little 4 sentences, there are 3 or 4 sentences, what the theme is? Let's look again. An posa agus mienta de frula an dinna. Marriage and the different needs of a person is the theme of this poem. Now, I did mention that there's a contrast between the needs. That's one of the techniques used to deliver the theme, okay? And we'll get to that. Let's get to it immediately, actually, because it's one of the interesting ones. This entire poem is built on a chorisnocht. What's a chorisnocht? A contrast. Chorisnocht glan, a clear contrast. Here we go. Technique intoch sonneliocht is sha chorisnocht. Agus is sfere sin I gas an dawn seo. Technique intoch. A wonderful technique, sonnelicht in poetry, is sha chorisnocht, is contrast. Agus is sfere sin I gas an dawn seo. And that is true in the case of this poem. Now, we spoke about that as a little set piece that you can use. Do you remember the last time we spoke in the last video, I was saying you could say, technique intoch sonneliocht is brawn. A wonderful technique in poetry is sadness. Technique intoch sonneliocht is mohuchan. A wonderful technique in poetry is feelings. And then we carry on with agus is fearation, and that is true. It goes on dawn show in the case of this poem. Let's carry on. Tá chorisnocht glan idir mianta na maná agus mianta an ir. We're discussing the contrast in the poem, which could come up as a short paragraph question worth 8 or 9 marks. There's a clear contrast in the poem between the needs of the woman and the needs of the man. Now, how is that? Let's say, Tá mianta an níor go léir dírithe ar an gclán. The needs of the man are all dírithe. What does the word díreach mean? Straight. So if they're dírithe, they're straight at it. They're focused on it. Tá mianta an níor, the needs of the man are go léir all dírithe, directed at or focused on. An clán, the family, agus ag an baile, and the home. I gurrsnocht, in contrast, tá mianta no maná, dírithe ar hí féin. The needs of the woman are dírithe ar hí féin, focused ar hí féin, upon herself. There's some contrast. His needs are dírithe ar an clán agus ag an baile, the family and the home. Her needs are dírithe ar hí féin, are focused on herself. Let's give some examples of that now. Mar hampla, for example, huntig an fear, fuisa vis gan lack a hinna. For example, the man, huntig, means desired. The man desired fuisa vis gan, affection and respite, and rest, lack a hinna, by the heart of the fire, but in front of the fire. A huntig an van, but the woman desired, sira harlar, holidays abroad, is mass na milte, and the respect of everyone. Tá codrsnach glán sna línta seo. There's a clear contrast in these lines. He wanted fireside chats, hugs and kisses, sitting by the fire, all nice and cozy and relaxed and fuzzy and huggy. She wanted to be out there having holidays abroad, doing her thing and be independent. The bottom line is Tá codrsnach glán sna línta seo. There's a clear contrast in these lines. And the argument we're making is that contrast helps to deliver the theme of the different needs of a person in a marriage. Okay. Let's go to the next paragraph, and if you look carefully at the notes, I have léirú cliste in bold. Now, léirí an anfile, it'll come up in the notes, L-E for the I-R, I for the O-N-N, léirí an anfile, the poet portrays. A léirú is a portrayal, how something is portrayed. So, úsáidir léirú cliste sa dán. A clever portrayal is used in the poem, a clever portrayal of marriage, I suppose. Léirítar fear tradiisiúnta sa dán. A traditional man is portrayed in the poem. Now, I'm not going to get into what that means, okay? I'll let you decide that yourselves. But a traditional man, he has certain traditional views of marriage that are probably a little outdated, and an old-fashioned. So, léirítar fear tradiisiúnta sa dán. A traditional man is portrayed in the poem. Agus is léir go bhfuil íomhá tradiisiúnta den pósa aige. And it's clear that he has a traditional image of an pósa marriage. But léirítar banú aimsire. A modern woman is portrayed in the poem. Agus is léir freshen, and it's clear also go bhfuil íomhá nua aimsire ché den pósa. It's clear that she has a modern view den pósa of marriage. Very good. Sé sin le rád is an expression you see me use a lot in my notes. That is to say, or in other words, or that is to say, tá rudí teve stig den bhaile tábhachtach dó. Tábhachtach means important. So, rudí are things, that is to say, tá rudí, let's translate this piece carefully, tá rudí teve stig den bhaile. Things inside the home are tábhachtach dó, are important to him. Agus tá rudí teve mwe, den bhaile tábhachtach dí. And things teve mwe, den bhaile outside the home are tábhachtach dí, are important to her. So what does that, the way that's portrayed, all these things in the home are important to him and all these things outside the home are important to her, what does that portray? So neirtín an léirú cliste seo, what does that strengthen in the poem, that technique? This clever portrayal, neirtín, strengthens, follow the notes, an pósa, marriage, agus mianta de friúla an duine, and the different needs of a person, mar héma leidir sa dán, as a strong theme in the poem. Okay. Next paragraph. We are now on I'll tell you now which paragraph we're on just in case you're losing me. 1, 2, 3. We're now on to the 4th paragraph of these notes. And the 4th point I'm going to make in these notes, are basically related to Kaint Vafruk. metaphorical speech. She wanted half the pants. She wanted half the pie. He wanted hugs by the fire. He wanted love and affection and, you know, in the rearing family. This is all metaphorical speech. What does it mean to say she wanted half the pants? She wanted one leg of a pair of trousers? I don't think so. She wanted independence. These are metaphorical speech for representing various things metaphorically. So, here we go. Déintear úsáid cliste as caint bhafrach Sudan. Clever use is made out of metaphorical speech in the poem. Luan an Fille. The poet mentions Tav den Vrishte. Fourth paragraph, second line, half the pants. Agus Latin kiste, and half the pie. What metaphorical speech is that? Nartian an namafer sho. These metaphors, Nartian, come on, N-E-R-T-I, I for O and strengthen. These metaphors strengthen. New word coming your way. Navsplachus. N-E-A-M-H-S-P-L-E for the R-C-H-A-S. Navsplachus, independence. So he wanted half the pants, she wanted half the pie. These metaphors strengthen Navsplachus, independence, agus mienta nomina Sudan, and the needs of the woman. Very good. Sudan in the poem. Luater, no, that just means is mentioned. So Erlaka hinna, by the heart of the fire, is mentioned. Be mean the maffer sho, and these metaphors emphasize mienta anir, the needs of the man. He wanted to be by the heart of the fire. That metaphor represents his needs. Mar shin, which means therefore. Be mean an kaint vafrach sho. This metaphorical speech emphasizes Ga is two. No, Ga vion. Mion is the word, but Ga vion. Mion are outlooks. Ga vion de frula. Two different outlooks are on both on marriage. You could say Ga hishkin de frula, two different understandings, or Ga vion, two attitudes or outlooks of towards marriage. Mion anir, the outlook or the attitude of the man, agus mion nomina, and the attitude of the woman. Arish, again, tá mienta an dinna agus posa soler marhema. Again, the needs of a person and marriage are evident as a theme. Okay, we are now on the paragraph 5. And in this one, I'd like to talk about Teddle an Dawn. Teddle an Dawn means the title of the poem. So, I said before, and I'll say it again, always write a little piece and comment on either the end of the poem or the title of the poem. For this one in particular, how it ends and the title. Let's do the Teddle an Dawn first, the title of the poem. And it's Dia for the Iron after Teddle. Because Dawn is poem, Dia for the Iron, but it's Teddle an Dawn, the title of the poem. It's the Tishel Ginnaduck again. Myself and my students refer to it as the of problem. The title of the poem. Whenever you have that of problem, it causes little things to happen to the words that come after it, depending on whether they're masculine or feminine, or whether they're in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth declension. But that's grammar. Grammar is boring. Let's talk poetry. Kolskara is Teddle an Dawn. Here we go. Divorce is the title of the poem. Tá an Teddle Irúnach. The title is Irúnach, O-I-R, I-U for the Nazi, Irúnach, suitable. Tigin an lehor godírach. The reader understands godírach immediately or directly. Go bhfuil codarsnacht tábhachtach, go bhfuil colscara tábhachtach mar ábhar Sudan. That separation or divorce is important as a subject in the poem. So the minute you read that title, the minute the reader reads that title, he understands that separation or divorce is a subject matter of this poem. So that title to me is Irúnach, appropriate, agus éfachtach, and effective. Okay, next one. So we're now on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on paragraph 6. I want to talk about Dera an Dawn, the end of the Dia for the Ayen poem. Again, there's the of problem. Dera an Dawn, the end of the poem. Now, for the purpose of this one, okay? Creed Nian an Dawn Nota Bronach. The poem finishes on a sad note. Creek Nian on Dawn, note the Bronach. The poem finishes on a sad note. Creek Nian on Dawn go tubben freshen. The poem finishes suddenly also. There on Filla, the poet says, Scorridor. They split. They divorced. They separated. Creek tubben on Dawn, August Creek tubben on Posa. The sudden end of the poem and the sudden end of the marriage. Marshin, therefore, Moose Clean on Creek tubben show. Therefore, this Creek tubben, this sudden end, Moose Clean awakens on Tema, the team, lehefacht, with effect. It's clever actually the way the poem just comes to a sudden boom, stop, just like the marriage. It's actually it's a very nice literary technique that Maksivna has used there, in his poem. So, a great poem, by the way, for such a short poem with just 2 verses. I think Padraig Maksivna is a fantastic, done a fantastic job on this one, and there's just such coldness in the poem, and these two people are irreconcilable, really. They could never have happily married, in that their needs were just so diverse. Perhaps it's a word of caution for all young people who are considering getting married, so keep that one on board. Here we go. Marshin, therefore, let's do the conclusion. So, Marshin, therefore, Tríd an Dawn show throughout this poem. Dainter úsáid cumasach as technicí fillete den sco. Powerful is cumasach. Dainter is made. So dainter úsáid cumasach as powerful. Úsáid is use. Powerful use is made of technicí fillete, poetic techniques. Den sco, of the top class, of the top variety. So therefore, Tríd an Dawn show throughout this poem, dainter úsáid cumasach, powerful use is made as out of technicí fillete, poetic techniques den sco. Úsáid an Fillete, the poet uses Ivana, the poet